Welcome to our podcast. And by our, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
We're two friends who met in college, but now we live a couple hours away from each other. Like I said, I'm Hannah. I'm 29, and in 2 weeks I will be 30. I'm very much looking forward to being in my 30s. I do not want to be in my 20s anymore. I'm done with this. I'm a lawyer in Chicago. I work for a bigger law firm. I love to read. And and I live with my cousin in an apartment with our two dogs. My dog's name is Whiskey, and my cousin's dog is named Louie.
And I'm Laura. My husband and I own a small business in rural Illinois, very rural. We're one of those speck on the map places. I also enjoy reading, obviously. And I really enjoy my pets and the livestock that my husband and I raise on our small farm.
Laura and I actually grew up in technically the same town, I guess. We were in the same school district.
Sure. Yeah. We were in the same school district, but you went to private school.
Yeah. So we never met each other. And then we were in the same sorority in college. It was a very weird agricultural sorority.
Yeah, for sure.
And I met Laura on the interview weekends, and I decided I wanted to be her best friend. And I rarely pick out friends that way. Like, I have told Laura a million times I'm a lazy friend maker. I usually just pick out the ones who like me. But
I was
Laura,
just glad to have some friends.
Yeah,
I never had friends. So.
Well, you were starting college. I'm a year older than Laura.
Right.
So then I actually became her big sis in the house, which did not mean anything to anyone but our stupid family, because we all liked each other a lot.
And by family, if you're not part of the Greek system, you don't really understand what that means. Usually you have a big sister or big brother, and then you get a little sister or little brother that you are supposed to mentor, participate in different events with.
And like get little gifts throughout the year.
Correct.
Like the dreaded cookie cake that I did not get for you, but you instated afterwards because you felt wronged by me not getting you a cookie cake.
I mean, I'm never going to turn down a cookie cake.
Ever. I know. I was just so cheap in college. I put myself through college, and again, I went to law school, so student debt is a real thing, people.
I mean, debt in general is a real thing.
Yes, that is a fair statement. But I was very, very cheap in college because I was paying my own rent and working 30 hours a week. And funny enough, Laura didn't realize this, but everyone in our sorority thought I was stupid until I got into law school, because they never saw me at the house studying. So apparently I just wasn't, when in fact it was just, I left at 7 a.m. and didn't get back until 6 o'clock at night. And for 11 hours was like elsewhere working or studying at all times. But everyone had the same major. So everyone was just like, oh, I only see Hannah when she's partying, so she must be dumb. And then
you're gone a lot. We didn't get to interact with you, whereas everybody else was kind of within the same programs that we would see each other in most of our classes.
Right. So I got into Northwestern, and I think I floored everyone I knew. It's a good thing. I mean, it's not a good thing that people just walked around thinking
factor is great.
But yeah, I went to Northwestern Law School. We both lived in Illinois our entire lives.
Yeah.
But we decided to start this podcast to talk about different books with each other. Maybe.
And because everybody has a podcast.
Everyone has a podcast.
It's the cool thing.
I found the perfect name, which is On Wednesdays We Read, after the Mean Girls quote, and liked the sound of OWWR sounding like our podcast. So that is why we started this podcast. A lot of you may be tuning in because you are a fan of my Bookstagram, which I started about 2 years ago, Brews and Books, where I feature my books and my puppies. But Laura,
and some good reviews too.
Oh, well, thank you.
For reviews.
Laura often compliments my reviews and gives me a much better ego than I deserve. So
no, they're good, guys. They're good.
But we decided, because I was doing like the Bookstagram, the community is such a great community. And a lot of people do things called buddy reads. And I had never done a buddy read. Laura and I both like do read a lot and give each other recommendations all the time, or just throw a book at each other and say, here, read this. And then it takes us months and months and months to read it. We just never expect to get it back. But last year I suggested we start doing buddy reads together. And I think this was actually the first, like this book series we're doing, which I will announce now, I guess, is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan or Jordan. I don't know.
I think it's just Jordan.
Robert Jordan. I think that was the first buddy read we ever did. Maybe? Yes.
It was the first buddy read we did. It was a really good pick.
It was a good pick. I suggested it merely because my big sis from the house loved this series and kept telling me to read it. And
she's a big fantasy fan. Yeah,
she's a big fantasy fan. And we're both fans of her. So I suggested this and then realized I told you to read like an 1,100-page novel and felt bad about it. But it was fun.
I am a very slow reader. And when Hannah was like, oh, you don't want to do a buddy read, I was really into that idea. But then she gave me literally an encyclopedia. And it was a little bit intimidating, seeing as most of the time it takes me quite a while to finish books. But Hannah reads quite quickly also.
I read quickly enough. I wish I had more time to read. Being at a big law firm, a lot of times, a good way to put it.
You're busy. You fly through books much faster than me, and I have lots of time. So
that's fair. Yeah, I work a lot of hours, so sometimes my reading like plummets down with that. But in my spare time, I mostly read. Although I just consume tons of media, because I was recently talking about TV shows I watch, and people are like, "Do you watch everything?" And I just like to consume mass media, I guess. But because Laura's a slow reader and I'm very busy, and these books are huge, the structure of this podcast is going to be a little bit different. We don't want to overwhelm someone, so we're just going to do one book a month, and each week we're going to break it down into bite-sized pieces to discuss, along with discussing other books we're reading, other things we're watching or listening to, and how we're doing. So
really casual. We're not pros. This is just for fun, and we want to talk about books.
Yeah. And so we figured talking about books in general first will be fun. We'll always check in and see like, what else are you reading? And then we can talk. The first week we'll be talking about the plot of the book. The second week we will be talking about female characters or male characters, vice versa. Maybe, it may switch up based on how we're feeling. And then the next week it'll be the others, or, gender non-binary they will be discussed likely in the men's section, because I think if we're going to take time away from anyone, it's going to be men, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the fourth,
they get enough time.
Yeah, they get enough time. And then the fourth week we'll discuss, what we think about this book in the context of the series, what we have for future predictions, and just overall themes of these books. So
yeah, because there's just some exciting things happening within this fandom as far as the TV series that Amazon's going to be putting out maybe this year, because I think they might have had to stop due to COVID, but I'm not positive.
But yeah, there's so much going on with this fandom right now, with the fact that they're making this TV show and all that good stuff. So, and it looks like they have great casting. So that's all very exciting.
Sure.
And like I said, we'll be discussing other books outside of that. So that's the structure of our podcast. But this is our introduction. So we're just going to learn a little bit about each other in this. And so you guys can kind of meet us and see if you vibe with us. So Laura, what are you currently reading, watching, or enjoying?
Okay, so I just finished The House in the Cerulean Sea by, I think, TJ Klune is his name. I honestly did not.
That sounds right.
Author's name. I think it's TJ Klune. It was the cutest book I have read in a long time. It very much has a feel of a children's novel, but it's been marketed towards adults, and that's fine. But I definitely think kids could be reading it. And it's just a very wholesome book, and it was great. It's gotten a lot of hype on Instagram, and I think it deserves it really because it's very inclusive and it is just really heartwarming. I think I cried like 3 times because it's just so cute and nice. What are you reading right now?
I just finished Luster, which is like if you took everything Laura said and inverted it, that's Luster, because it was not an easy read.
Yeah.
It's about a young Black woman's struggles and kind of how she gets involved with this man who is married. He has an open relationship with his wife, and just lots of stuff happens to her. And then you find out a lot about her trauma growing up. I would say you've read Queenie. It's very similar to Queenie, but a little bit less lighthearted, I would say. And like Queenie is pretty heavy too. But as I was reading it, I put this in my Instagram post. I actually reviewed it today. I just kept thinking, my God, this girl is only 23 years old. I cannot believe that, because it's just, she's so young and she's been through so much and she was dealing with so much. And I thought that was very poignant and interesting. So that's what I'm reading. And as for TV shows, season 3 of The Sinner came out on Netflix, which is a terrible show, but it is so watchable and I'm obsessed with it. The first season, it's just like Jessica Biel murders a man who she says she doesn't know. And Bill Pullman is a detective who she obviously murdered a man in broad day, but he has to figure out the mystery, and it's insane. I can't describe how weird this show is. And then I also watched To All the Boys I Loved Before 3 last night, which I sent Laura a message on. It had the creepiest line I've ever heard in a movie, where the love interest, Peter Kavinsky, asks her little sister to teach him how to braid his girlfriend's hair if he helps the little sister with romance. I just it was
weird exchange.
It was the creepiest line I've ever heard. I reached out to my sister to talk to her about it. And she's like, yeah, I thought it was weird too. I pretended he didn't really mean it. It's just I sent Laura a message being like, could you imagine being 18 and your boyfriend being like, I want to braid your hair? It sounds like something a serial killer would request of a person.
Yeah.
So
it's a little bothersome.
It's so bothersome. And again, that's a cute movie. It's for children. I am a 29-year-old woman who is watching a show for children.
I've only seen the first 2, but they were very cute.
Yeah, and this one is very cute too. You're just watching a lot of high school drama.
Yeah.
But that one line I think it's going to stick with me for weeks to come. And I'm going to rewrite it in my head of him going, I want to braid your hair. And that's just how this is going to work out for me. But I would definitely recommend all the Boys I Loved Before, because they're cute little roms.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, they're very fun. Are you watching anything good right now?
I started Space Force on Netflix with Steve Carell. Ben Schwartz is in it. John Malkovich. I love John Malkovich. It's different, but there's some funny moments in it that I've enjoyed. Very much has the feel of the humor of The Office, which makes sense because Greg Daniels and Steve Carell are kind of the masterminds behind this show. I've also jumped into Jane the Virgin. This is an old one that
Love that
a lot of people have told me about, and I watched a couple episodes of it and then I didn't really get into it. So I started watching that again and I really like it. It's super funny. I love Rogelio. He is very underrated as an actor and I just really enjoy every time he comes into an episode.
I was happy that he got one of the voices in Coco, I think. That was amazing for him. Yeah, he's a very underrated actor, but I very much enjoy that show. That was such a good show. I watched Jane the Virgin at the same time I was watching Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and I do think Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is a better show, but I enjoy exactly what Jane the Virgin is doing and what it's bringing for, a spoof on telenovelas. So it's just, that's such a good show.
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is great. I've watched that a couple times now too. All the way through.
I've definitely watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend a couple of times. That's even one where on one of my rewatches, I started in later seasons, so I didn't have to like see, because if people don't know Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, it's about a lawyer who moves across the country because she runs into her camp boyfriend.
When they were in junior high or something, correct?
Yeah, junior high, I want to say. Or maybe it was high school.
They were very young, though.
Very young. And so she convinces herself that they should be in love. So she moves across the country to be with him. And it's very funny. There's a ton of just like random music intercut that they write themselves. It's just such a good show.
A lot of good musical numbers in that show.
And it deals with mental health in some of the most unique
Yeah.
and interesting ways I've ever seen. So
sure.
highly recommend. I think it's one of the best shows in all of existence. Now to talk a little bit more, to bring it back to books. Laura, what is your reading style? What's your favorite genre, least favorite genre? Why?
This is a hard one. I read all over the board, but recently I've been reading a lot of just contemporary fiction. I like fantasy. I like feel-good stories. I also enjoy dark stories where bad things happen. Yeah, that's a hard question for me. I don't know. But I usually, as far as like reading style, I usually have at least 2 books going. I have a audiobook app and an ebook app. So if I'm somewhere and I have to wait for something, I'll have an ebook on my phone that I can read on my app. Or I usually carry a physical book in my purse or something along those lines to have just in case. And so I usually have a couple books going at a time just so I can read when I feel like it. I'm not afraid to quit books, do it a lot. And I'm pretty willing to take up any genre, I guess. How about you?
Yeah, I would say I'm the same. I would say for like type of book, I'm here for character-driven novels. I'm not a huge plot point where it's just like, hey, this is happening in this book. I need some character development and growth. I just recently read a book where I was like, oh, this is interesting, but I don't feel anything for these characters. So I like to feel something for the characters. Yeah, love them, hate them, anything in between. My least favorite genre, I will say, I think I always tell people it's biographies or autobiographies, but every time I read one of those, I do enjoy it. So I don't know what I'm talking about. I think it's actually short stories. I really don't like short stories. It feels like pulling teeth for me to read something where I'm just dipping in and out for 10 pages. And I'm always like, I'm someone who very much has goals set in mind. So when I know the story's over in 10 pages, I'm thinking more about the fact that I only have 10 pages left than I am about the actual story. So it's, and again, I love characters. So learning about a character for 10 pages just doesn't do it for me.
Sure. As far as you mentioned, you know, like biographies and autobiographies, is that just in general? Or do you think that if it was someone that you were interested in learning about, that would change your opinion?
Yeah, I think I like reading about people who I enjoy their opinions. Michelle Obama's book was amazing because she's amazing.
That was a great one.
Yeah. I've also read one on, people will learn this from me, I have a mild to giant, massive crush on Sarah Bareilles. I want to be Sarah Bareilles. I listened to all her music. I have seen Waitress 3 times. I had a reason for each one of the 3. It's not like I just opted in to see it anytime I could. But
why you didn't?
I've seen her in concert twice. I've met her. So I've read her autobiography and I loved that. And Mindy Kaling's. I have a small obsession with Mindy Kaling. So
yeah, you love Mindy also.
I do love Mindy. I also like.
I think it should also be mentioned just quickly that you do not stalk/love celebrities as much as I do. You have maybe 2 that you're like, oh, Mindy Kaling, Sarah Bareilles, love them so much. But I love to read about celebrity lives and gossip to the point where it's a bit weird, maybe a hobby of mine. And so I enjoy a good celebrity memoir.
Who are some of your faves?
Really, they're really all pretty basic when you get down to it. But and some of them I guess it depends on the person. But
who are some of your favorites, just so people know?
Celebrities?
Yeah.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson is probably towards the top of my list. I feel like he is easily one of the most likable people ever. And I will be frank right now, if something comes out that he actually is a horrible person, I'm going to be devastated. I'm going to be devastated because I have built him up so much, and he just seems like a nice person to me and a cool person. He's very funny. I kind of like just nice people that do good things. Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, they're some of my favorites. I like both of their memoirs. Those were great. Dolly Parton, like her. Michelle Obama, I don't know if she's considered a celebrity now since she's a former first lady.
I mean, you are planning on watching her puppet show.
Okay, it's not a puppet show, Hannah.
I knew that would make you angry.
About eating healthy and helping two individuals discover how to become chefs. That's their dream. The fact that they are puppets has nothing to do with it.
I'm so sorry for offending you. I get all of those except for The Rock. No offense to The Rock. I'm sure he is a nice person. I don't love people who are incredibly likable. All of my friends are crotchety people. When people are likable, it feels performative to me for some reason, which is funny because I think if you asked Laura how to describe me, she would say I'm very likable. So maybe I just don't trust people.
I really equate you and The Rock personality-wise so much. That's probably why we're friends, because
you love likable people and I love crotchety people. So who get offended when I call it.
I don't think you're exactly like Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
No. But yeah,
your silence made me think you were concerned that was actually the truth. So
no, not on a deeper level. Like, I mean,
okay.
I think you just described me as likable, and you're someone who likes very likable people, I would say, in my book. Like your other close friend. I
like nice people. I don't know that I have a thing for likable people, but people who are nice are likable, I guess. I like people who are nice.
Right. I think I like people who are nice, but don't show it because sometimes I trust that more.
Sure.
If you're willing to call me on something, I'm like, oh, I trust you because I don't think you're talking about me behind my back.
Sure.
One of my favorite people to work with at my job, she always just tells me to my face, like, oh, you've messed up. And I'm just like, I appreciate that because I know you're not complaining about it an hour later. I mean, I love Sarah Bareilles and Mindy Kaling, who are two very, very sweet individuals. So
going back to biographies, do you read biographies that are a little bit heavier? I've recently been reading some presidential bios and U.S. figures in U.S. history. Not gonna lie, it's something I never thought I would do because these are the types of books my dad always read, and I thought that was super boring. I'm kind of digging them.
Interesting. I have a hard time with dates. I don't understand them and they don't make sense to me and I can't remember them from one thing. Like dates in history, I could not tell you when World War II happened, even though you learn it at a very young age. Like dates in history don't make sense to me. And like
so I could just throw out a random set of years and you would believe that was it.
I mean, if it sounded right, maybe, but I would probably double check. I just don't do well with things. And sometimes when you're reading biographies of presidents, a lot of times it's discussing, in detail, like dates of history.
Okay.
And it's
not like you have to memorize them.
That's fair. I haven't tried yet because that is always kind of a drawback, but I do enjoy, like I've read almost all.
Maybe the law school in you. About memorizing the details.
Well, and again, I'm a character person at heart. So sometimes with presidents, it's like, yeah, they're presidential, they all have the same personality.
Especially with people who are deceased, you can't really gauge the way that people were feeling at certain times.
Right.
Especially if you're a historian talking about someone who was around in the 1800s,
But I have read all of Eric Larson's stuff because I think he's good with nonfiction. I haven't read his most recent novel, and I think I haven't read Thunderstruck yet.
Okay.
But I've read all the rest of them, and I think he's really good because he also like tells it like it's a story, so it feels interesting.
I read Devil in the White City. You recommended that one to me, and it reads very much like a fictional story, really.
Right. So I enjoy his stuff. I haven't tried biographies, but I probably should, just because everyone should try to expand their reading and try different things. You never know what you're gonna like.
But also, if you hate it,
don't force yourself. You can stop at any time.
It's not worth it if you don't like it.
Right. But I'm interested in stuff like that.
Okay.
Do you have any, did you, like, now that you've heard all about my least favorite genres, do you have any least liked genres?
Least liked genres?
You're not a huge
maybe some
person.
of the self-help stuff. I can't get into that.
Laura has a very specific hatred for bland self-help of like, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, or...
You know what? I read Girl Wash Your Face, and it did not connect to me or inspire me the way that it inspired so many other people. And to give the listeners a little bit of insight as to the person I am, just to look at me and to know a little bit about my background. I am a very white, privileged person, and I would love to be a billionaire, but just using mantras of "you can do it, girl" is not going to help me achieve that goal.
I get that. I think it's also important to note that I too am a very white woman who has a lot of privilege. I grew up very, very poor. My dad worked in a steel mill. My mom was a manager of a grocery store. My dad worked like 2 jobs his entire life. So like, but I have a lot of privilege that I do recognize as well. And I also don't love self-help books because I think sometimes, depending on the self-help book, I do think there is something a little bit toxic in the like, pick yourself up, you're fine. You know, I think it's good to have that message, but sometimes you have to recognize.
To an extent. That's maybe where I want to leave off on, is that it's okay to an extent.
Right. Well, and sometimes there's an implication of like, because I succeeded, you can do it just by doing exactly what I did.
Exactly.
While ignoring everything that you've been through.
Correct.
Yes.
So self-help. That's what I'm going to say is my least liked.
Fair. I was going to say you're not a huge romance person, but
that maybe is just more because I'm an uncomfortable, awkward person in general. I don't typically watch a lot of sexy things on TV or read about, romance too much. Watched Bridgerton. That was probably, I reached my quota for the year on sexy things.
With one Shonda Rhimes shows.
One episode was enough of Bridgerton to reach my sexy quota for the year.
The sex scenes didn't start for like 3 or 4 episodes, though.
I know. Well, and I watched Graham Norton the other day, and he said, I was watching it and wondering, when does the sex come into this? But when you pull the string, there it is. And I really related to that. Graham Norton knows how to describe things, was really relatable.
You froze, but I also think it's important to note that like I'm obsessed with Graham Norton to an unhealthy degree. I don't drink wine anymore, and I was like, maybe I should try his wine because Graham Norton has wine. If anyone wants to watch the weirdest episode of television ever, watch Mark Wahlberg's episode on Graham Norton because he is so intoxicated he falls asleep.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it like gets messy. It was a very old show. And like Graham Norton has done interviews about this show now. And he's always like, yeah, I think it was one of those things where he was fine when he got there. And then it just got so much worse. And then he's like, and then he fell asleep. And we were all like, it's best not to wake him.
Yeah.
He sits on Graham Norton's lap. He like starts touching. It's very uncomfortable. And you're just like poor television show host. But that's also what you get when you serve alcohol. And
I guess, but
there's also
a little too much romance for me.
There was also an episode with Matt Damon and Bill Murray And then a British actor, I cannot remember what his name is, but they're all very intoxicated, but in the enjoyable way, not in the like bad Mark Wahlberg way. But people should watch more of Graham Norton. Can't recommend those clips highly enough. My all-time favorite one, sorry, and I will stop ranting about how much I love this, is there is one, just like anyone should YouTube Graham Norton, Mark Ruffalo.
Oh, you sent me this one.
Yeah, Dora the Explorer stuff. And there's just like, it's so funny. It's amazing. But yeah, that's my little rant there. Cause I too saw that clip from Graham Norton about Bridgerton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think along with most of the population that watched Bridgerton, I went on a deep dive on Regé-Jean Page, because even though I don't really get into the sexy romance stuff, I was very interested in learning more about Regé-Jean Page. He is possibly the most beautiful human I've ever seen.
He's a very pretty human being. I don't understand how someone can be that pretty.
Well, and then you are even more confused when you watch some of his interviews, because he's very intelligent. These things rarely go together this well. But yeah, so did a bit of a deep dive on him, and he's pretty quiet on his personal life, and good for him. And shouldn't have stalkers like me trying to figure out what's going on with his life.
I get it. All right. Well, that being said, I talked a little bit about my dogs. Do you want to introduce your dog and his name and everything?
Oh, did you tell everybody about?
Yeah, I talked about Whiskey and Lulu in the introduction.
Oh, okay. I guess we've been talking for a while. I didn't remember.
You're fine.
I have a pit bull mix. His name is Briggs. He is a tank, basically. He loves everyone and is possibly the sweetest little dog ever. But he's definitely not the brightest bulb on the tree.
He is very cute.
He's cute. He's definitely cute. He's always happy, so that never goes away. But he's a sweet little guy. And then I live on a farm, so I have chickens and I have goats and we have cattle. So we've got quite a bit going on. I guess they're not all pets, but the goats and the chickens and my dog for sure are pets.
I said, no, I have Louie, the Chihuahua, who is trying to make me mad today. And then my dog, she is a rat terrier Chihuahua mix. She looks like a little deer. Her name is Whiskey. She is a cute little needy baby. Also not the brightest bulb. My dad once said the most accurate thing about my dog, where he said she wants to be consumed by you, because that's how closely she sits next to you all the time. And she just wants to be right up against you. Mm-hmm. And she is not allowed to sleep up against me because she would never move. And then I would not move. She has to sleep across the bed from me. And I think she has never felt more insecure about an issue than that specific one. But
we could share some pictures of them on Instagram.
Oh yeah. And you guys, go on over to my Bookstagram, or we do have our own Instagram account. We do have a Twitter account and an email if anyone ever wants to email us. But it's our pod.
But not about Rachel Hollis.
Laura does not want any hot takes about Rachel Hollis. I think I would take them just
Direct
to have
those emails to Hannah.
Just to read them on air so that you guys have to listen to her implode internally. But yeah, we'll post a couple of pictures of them on our pod. That's our Instagram handle. It's OWWR Pod. On Wednesdays we read. And that's also our Gmail, our Twitter. It's everything. So if you guys ever want to email us or talk to us, feel free to reach out.
And definitely do.
Yeah, we're happy to be doing this podcast, and we're very excited to be doing our first mini series, which is called Shai'tan on Wheels of Time, which Shai'tan is the evil being and entity over the entire Wheel of Time series. So it is a play on words, because I was an English major and I must make everything a play on words. So that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be reading the first book and discussing the plot of it next week. The first book in the series is called The Eye of the World, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. By Robert Jordan. This series will take us a very long time because, again, we are only covering one book a month, and there are 14 books in this series. So I also thought about like maybe sometimes we'll take a break. We'll do a little, offshoot book if we need to reestablish or like, so that we're not just doing all of these books. But that's something we can decide along the way. We're excited to be here. So reach out and let us know what you think your predictions for the entire series will be. Mm-hmm. Let us know what you'd like to hear from us or any questions you guys might have about our thoughts and everything. So, and let us know if you guys have read this.
Don't send any spoilers, please. I've only read the first book and I don't want to be spoiled.
Yes, no spoilers. We're going to be taking these books one at a time. I have read the first 3.
I've only read the first one. People don't ruin it for me.
Right. And like we have a friend who has read all of these books and she has not spoiled it for us. So no spoilers. This is a spoiler-free zone. Let us know if you have read the books though, and if you love them so that we can give a shout out. And please rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast because we would love to take this journey with you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you guys. And we will talk to you next week on our pod.
Bye.
Bye.